By the mid-1800s, Manchester had transformed into something unprecedented in human civilization. An urban centre built exclusively for manufacturing. The skyline belonged to factory chimneys, hundreds of towering structures releasing smoke that suspended in the atmosphere and darkened the heavens, even at midday. The sound never stopped. Industrial equipment, coal-powered engines, the transit of carts and labourers through cramped streets. This wasn't an urban settlement that had evolved naturally across centuries. It had exploded into existence within a single generation, driven by textile fibre, mineral fuel, and vapour technology. In this presentation, I use contemporary AI tools to animate historical engravings and early photographs, allowing us to navigate through Manchester as it existed in the 1850s. What you're witnessing is an urban environment that invented the modern era, not through deliberate planning, but through relentless momentum. This is Manchester before its transformation. The city remained recognisable as a marketplace serving rural territories. In 1750, roughly 20,000 people resided here. Churches, taverns, a commercial square, and small workshops dotted the landscape. The Irwell River provided water and transportation, but the settlement itself was ordinary, just another provincial town among many scattered throughout northern England. Then cotton arrived. The inaugural water-driven cotton factory opened during the 1780s. Within decades, mills proliferated throughout the city and surrounding areas. Coal-powered engines replaced water wheels, enabling factories to be constructed wherever fuel could be transported. The population exploded, 50,000 by 1800, exceeding 300,000 by 1850. This wasn't natural expansion, it was acceleration. Streets were constructed rapidly, frequently without strategic planning. Dwellings were erected to satisfy immediate requirements, not long-term sustainability. The city expanded faster than its infrastructure could accommodate, generating density, congestion, and strain at every level. By the 1850s, Manchester bore virtually no resemblance to its appearance 70 years prior. The market town had been devoured by the machine. This is a cotton mill's interior in the 1850s, and it overwhelmed every sense. The noise was relentless and deafening. Power looms hammering, spinning frames whirring, steam engines driving belts and gears connecting hundreds of machines across multiple floors. Conversation was impossible. Workers communicated through gestures and learned to interpret machinery rhythm by sound alone. The atmosphere was thick with cotton fibre. It coated everything: floors, walls, clothing, lungs. Ventilation was inadequate. Windows remained closed to maintain humidity, preventing thread breakage but making the air suffocating. Machines dictated work tempo. Operatives managed multiple looms or spinning frames simultaneously, moving rapidly to mend broken threads, replace bobbins, and sustain production flow. The work demanded constant vigilance. A moment's inattention could cause injury. Fingers trapped in gears, hands mangled by moving components. Shifts lasted 12 to 14 hours, 6 days weekly. Breaks were brief and regulated. The factory bell controlled your arrival, your meals, your departure. Human labour had been subordinated to the machine's rhythm, and the machine never stopped. This was the Industrial Revolution's engine room. Everything else in Manchester, the housing, the contamination, the prosperity, the global commerce networks, radiated outward from these mills. These streets housed Manchester's mill workers, and the density was extreme. Housing was constructed quickly and cheaply, rows of back-to-back terraces with minimal separation. Families occupied single rooms, multiple households shared courtyards, outhouses, and water sources. Privacy didn't exist. Disease spread rapidly. The population included substantial numbers of Irish immigrants, many escaping the famine of the 1840s. By 1851, over 13% of Manchester's residents were Irish-born. They inhabited the worst neighbourhoods: Little Island, Angel Meadow, where rents were cheapest and conditions most brutal. Ethnic tensions emerged, particularly regarding employment and wages, but necessity enforced proximity. Children laboured beside adults in the mills. Some began as young as 5 or 6, employed as scavengers, crawling beneath active machinery to gather loose cotton. Accidents were frequent: fingers lost to gears, limbs crushed, lungs damaged by years of inhaling cotton dust. In the poorest districts, average life expectancy reached just 26 years. This wasn't concealed. Reformers documented it. Physicians reported it. Government investigations examined it. The conditions were acknowledged, debated, and for decades largely accepted as production's cost. Life in industrial Manchester revolved around the factory bell. You woke to it, worked to it, and returned home when it released you. Daylight was irrelevant. The rhythm of machines replaced the rhythm of seasons. This was history's first time that millions of people lived this way. This is Manchester's atmosphere in the 1850s, and it was inescapable. Smoke poured from hundreds of mill chimneys, mixing with coal fires from residences and workshops. The air was dense, grey, and often difficult to breathe. Buildings were coated in soot within months of construction. The Irwell ran black with dye and chemical waste from textile processing. Pollution wasn't a byproduct. It was evidence of productivity. A smoking chimney meant a mill was operating. A blackened sky meant production was robust. Soot-covered buildings signalled industrial achievement. The city's ugliness was inseparable from its purpose. Visitors remarked on it constantly: the darkness, the odour, the grime. Some were horrified, others were amazed, but no one denied what they witnessed. A city that had sacrificed beauty, health, and comfort pursuing production. This shows the Rochdale Canal and railway lines converging on Manchester, revealing how the city functioned as a node in a global system. Raw cotton arrived from across the world, but primarily from the American South. By 1860, 90% of Manchester's cotton was picked by enslaved people on plantations thousands of miles distant. The city's industrial revolution was built on their labour. This wasn't hidden. It was how the system operated. Cotton bales were shipped to Liverpool, then transported to Manchester via canal or increasingly by railway. The Liverpool and Manchester Railway, opened in 1830, had revolutionised transport. What once required days by canal now took hours by train. Speed mattered. Faster transport meant accelerated production cycles, faster delivery, faster profit. Finished goods, cloth, thread, garments, left Manchester just as rapidly, shipped to markets across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. The city didn't consume what it produced. It exported nearly everything, feeding global demand for cheap textiles. Manchester wasn't self-contained. It was a processing centre. Raw materials flowed in, finished goods flowed out, and the city's wealth depended on maintaining that flow. This is how observers saw Manchester in the 1850s, and their reactions were divided. Friedrich Engels arrived in the 1840s and documented what he saw in the condition of the working class in England. He described strict class segregation, wealthy merchants living in suburbs, workers confined to slums, the two groups rarely intersecting. His observations were largely accurate, though recent research suggests the reality was more complex. Social reformers visited and were horrified. Physicians reported on disease rates, child mortality, and industrial injuries. Government inquiries gathered testimony from workers, factory owners, and civic leaders. The evidence was overwhelming, leading to gradual reforms. Factory acts limiting child labor, public health measures addressing sanitation, housing regulations attempting to improve conditions. But others saw Manchester differently. They saw innovation, wealth, and progress. They saw a city that had solved mass production, that had harnessed steam power and organized labor on unprecedented scale. They saw the future, and they wanted to replicate it. This is Manchester's influence spreading outward, and it was rapid. Other cities studied Manchester's model. Industrial centres emerged across Britain, Europe, and North America, each following patterns established here. The cotton mill became a template. The factory town became a template. The separation of work and home, the subordination of labour to machinery, the reliance on global supply chains, all of it originated or was perfected in Manchester. This is Manchester in the 1850s. The modern world didn't arrive quietly. It announced itself here in machinery, noise, housing density, blackened air, and relentless production rhythm. If there's another city or moment in history you'd like to see, let me know in the comments.